There is a moment most people have witnessed at least once in their lives. Someone they know is clearly struggling. The weight of it is visible on their face, in their posture, in the pauses that have entered their sentences. And when asked if they need anything, the response is immediate, almost rehearsed. I am fine. I have got it. I do not need anything. And the conversation moves on because that is what the words are designed to do. To close the door before the question can go any further. These people are not lying in the way. Lying is usually understood. They are not hiding something strategic. They are doing something far more automatic than that. They are running a program that was installed so early and so thoroughly that they no longer recognize it as a program. It is simply who they are, or so they believe. The person who handles it, the one who does not need to bother anyone, the reliable one, the capable one, the one who has always been able to manage, even when no one could see how much management it was costing them. From the outside, this can look like independence, like strength, like an admirable kind of self-sufficiency that everyone else should aspire to. But from the inside, it rarely feels like strength. It feels like an obligation, a quiet and constant requirement to keep carrying, keep coping, keep solving. Because somewhere in the deep architecture of their nervous system, the idea of asking for help does not register as an option. It registers as a risk. To understand why some people never ask for help, you have to look at where the pattern started, because almost no one is born this way. This is not a personality trait that appeared fully formed. It is a survival strategy, one that was shaped in an environment where asking for help was either unavailable, unsafe, or quietly punished. For some, the pattern began with absence. They grew up in homes where the adults were overwhelmed, emotionally unavailable, or physically absent. Asking for help did not produce help. It produced silence. Or worse, it produced resentment. A child who reaches out and is met with exhaustion or irritation learns a lesson that no one intended to teach. My needs are a burden. And once that lesson takes root, the child begins to solve its own problems, not because it is gifted, but because it has concluded correctly for its environment that there is no other option. For others, the pattern began with overload. They grew up in homes where someone else needed more than they did. A sibling in crisis, a parent with illness, a family system in which emotional bandwidth was always accounted for elsewhere. The child in this environment does not stop having needs. They simply learn to suppress them. They become the easy one, the one who does not add weight to a system that was already straining. And they learn, often without anyone explicitly saying it, that being low maintenance is how they earn their place in the family. And for others still, the pattern began with punishment. They grew up in homes where asking for help was met with shame. Why can you not figure this out? You are too old to need this. Do you see what I am dealing with? These responses did not just discourage the child from asking. They encoded asking itself as a source of humiliation. And the nervous system, learning quickly that help came with a cost, made its decision. The cost was too high. Better to handle it alone. In all three variations, the result is the same. The child grows into an adult whose default response to struggle is internal rather than relational, who processes crisis in silence, who performs competence even when they are drowning, not because they want to, because their system was shaped to survive, and in the environment they came from, surviving meant not asking. One of the most disorienting aspects of people who never ask for help is that they are often extraordinarily helpful to others. They are the ones friends call during a crisis. They are the ones family members rely on. They are the ones at work whose inbox is full of messages asking for guidance, advice, support, and solutions. From the outside, they appear to be at the center of a thriving web of reciprocal connection. But look more closely and you see that the traffic only moves in one direction, out. This asymmetry is not accidental. It is psychological. For people shaped by environments where asking was dangerous, helping others becomes a way of maintaining connection without the vulnerability that asking would require. They can be present in relationships. They can be loved. They can be needed. But they don't have to expose the soft underside of their own need in order to access any of it. Helping becomes a currency, a way of earning belonging without ever having to risk the one thing their nervous system learned early to protect: themselves. This is also why many of these people describe a specific kind of loneliness that is difficult for others to understand. They are surrounded by people. Their calendar is full. Their phone never stops. And yet, beneath all of that activity lives a quiet certainty that no one actually sees what they are carrying. How could they? The person has spent a lifetime making sure of exactly that. The hiding was so successful that even the people closest to them mistake the performance for the truth. And that mistake, while protective, also reinforces the original wound. The belief that their needs are invisible, not because they are unimportant, but because they were never allowed to be seen. And there is an additional layer to this that rarely gets acknowledged. Because these people are so often the helpers, the people around them begin to organize their own lives around that assumption. Friends stop checking in because they know this person has it together. Family members stop worrying because they know this person will handle it. Partners stop asking the deeper questions because the answer has always been the same: I am fine. Over years, this creates a social ecosystem that actually punishes any attempt the person might make to ask. Because when they finally do reach out, the people around them are startled. They do not know how to respond. They may even feel resentful because the role of helper was one they had come to rely on. And the person who tentatively tried to ask often retreats immediately. The signal confirmed. It is better not to. Better to go back to managing. Better to not disturb a system that has arranged itself around your capacity to carry. There is a particular relationship with competence that people who never ask for help develop over time. Competence becomes identity. It stops being something they do and becomes something they are. The problem solver, the fixer, the person who always figures it out. And because this identity has been reinforced for decades by the gratitude of others and the absence of alternatives, it calcifies into something that feels permanent, something that cannot be questioned without threatening the entire structure of who they believe themselves to be. This is where the trap lives. Because if your identity is built on being the one who does not need help, then admitting that you need help is not just a practical request, it is an existential threat. It threatens to dismantle the role you have been playing for as long as you can remember. It threatens to change how people see you. It threatens to reveal that the steady, reliable, unshakable version of you is more fragile than anyone knew. And the nervous system, which has spent a lifetime avoiding precisely this exposure, sends one clear signal in response to the possibility of asking: do not. So they do not. Even when they are exhausted, even when they are grieving, even when they are sick, even when the weight of what they are carrying has begun to show in their body, in their sleep, in their relationships, in the subtle but steady erosion of their capacity to be present with themselves. The identity does not bend, and as long as it holds, they continue to manage alone. Not because they want to, but because the alternative requires a kind of renegotiation with themselves that feels more dangerous than whatever they are currently enduring. There is a particular moment that many of these people will recognize. The moment when something genuinely difficult happens, something that would legitimately warrant asking for help. And their first internal response is not to reach out. It is to calculate how to handle it quietly. The partner who cannot sleep for weeks after a loss, but tells no one how bad it has become. The parent who is financially drowning, but responds to every concerned question with reassurance. The professional who is buckling under impossible demands, but spends their evenings smiling through dinner. The reflex is not conscious. It happens instantly before thought arrives. And by the time the conscious mind is caught up, the decision has already been made. Handle it. Do not involve anyone. Protect the image. And in protecting the image, the person loses another opportunity to be known. There is a cost to this pattern that rarely gets named in its full weight. The cost is not just exhaustion. It is not just isolation. It is the slow erosion of the ability to recognize your own needs at all. When a person suppresses their needs consistently for decades, something happens to the internal signaling system. The body keeps sending messages. I am tired. I am overwhelmed. I am grieving. I need rest. I need help. But when those messages are ignored often enough, the system learns to send them more quietly, and then more quietly still, until one day the person realizes they cannot actually tell what they feel anymore. They know they are functioning. They know they are producing. They know they are meeting expectations. But the question of how they are, in the actual sense of that word, has become unanswerable. Psychologists call this emotional numbing. The nervous system, having learned that needs cannot be expressed, eventually stops expressing them even to the self. It is a protective mechanism. It prevents the person from being overwhelmed by feelings they cannot act on. But it comes at a profound cost, because a person who cannot feel their own needs cannot meet them, and cannot ask anyone else to meet them either. They become strangers to themselves, highly competent strangers, moving through their lives with a kind of muted efficiency that looks, from certain angles, like peace, but is actually the stillness of a system that has gone quiet in order to keep functioning. This is the part of the pattern that most people miss. The people who never ask for help are not just isolated from others. They are isolated from themselves. And that inner distance is perhaps the deepest loneliness a human being can carry. Because there is no one to call when the person you cannot reach is the one inside your own skin. Something curious happens when people who never ask for help finally do. It does not feel like relief. Not at first. It feels like danger. This confuses everyone involved. The person asking expects to feel lighter. The person receiving expects the request to go smoothly. And yet what actually happens is that the nervous system of the person asking goes into a state of alarm. Heart rate rises. The body tenses. A wave of discomfort arrives that feels completely disproportionate to the size of the request. Can you help me move this box? Can you check this email? Can you listen for a few minutes? These are not dangerous requests. But the body does not know that. The body only knows that it is doing something it was trained to avoid. And training runs deeper than logic. This is why the first several times a person who never asks for help begins to practice asking, it often feels worse, not better. The old pattern, scream. Guilt arrives. A compulsive urge to apologize or retract the request follows. The person may even sabotage the moment by adding qualifications. I can do it myself. Never mind. It is fine. Forget I asked. All of these are the nervous system trying to return to safety. trying to undo what feels at a primal level like a dangerous violation of the rule that kept them safe for so long. This is where most people give up. They try to ask. It feels awful. They conclude that asking is not for them and return to the familiar pattern of managing alone. But the discomfort was never a signal that the asking was wrong. It was a signal that something old was being challenged. And old things do not go quietly. They resist. They generate anxiety. They make the new behavior feel more dangerous than the exhaustion it is trying to interrupt. The only way through is repetition, asking again and again in small, low-stakes ways, allowing the nervous system to slowly gather evidence that asking does not produce disaster, that the feared punishment does not arrive, that the world does not collapse when the mask comes down briefly. This evidence does not accumulate quickly, but it does accumulate. There is something that most people who never ask for help eventually discover, though they may resist the discovery for years. That the inability to ask is not, in fact, a sign of strength. It is a form of hiding, a way of protecting themselves from the very connection they most need by controlling exactly how much of themselves other people are allowed to see. The strongest people are not the ones who never need anyone. They are the ones who have developed the capacity to be seen in their struggle without losing themselves in it. Who can let someone help them without interpreting it as weakness? Who can receive care without immediately calculating how to repay it? This kind of strength is rarer and harder than self-sufficiency, because self-sufficiency, for all its difficulty, is familiar. It is the pattern the nervous system has, practiced for a lifetime. Whereas allowing someone in, letting them witness what is actually happening, letting them contribute to your well-being without immediately reversing the flow, that is new territory. And new territory always feels more dangerous than the old wound. The people who manage to make this shift often describe it as a second adulthood, a second becoming. Not replacing the self-sufficient self, but widening it. The person who could always manage alone is still there. But they are joined now by a person who has learned that being held is not the same as being owned. That receiving is not the same as being in debt. That letting someone see you does not have to cost you your identity. It can, in fact, return you to it. Because the self that could only exist alone was always a partial self. And the fuller self, the one that can be alone and can also be held, was waiting underneath the pattern for as long as the pattern was running. This is not a story about people who are broken. It is a story about people who learned early and well how to survive without help, and then carried that survival strategy into a life that no longer required it. The nervous system does not know when the environment changes. It continues to run its old programs long after the original threat has passed. And the work of the second half of life for many of these people is the quiet and unglamorous task of teaching that nervous system something it never had the chance to learn in the first place. That help exists. That receiving it is not dangerous. That being a person who needs things is not the same as being a burden. If you recognize yourself in this, there is nothing wrong with the way you are wired. You learned what you needed to learn in order to make it through the environment you were in. That learning kept you safe. It may have kept you alive. And honoring it does not mean continuing to live inside it. It means acknowledging what it gave you while slowly, patiently, beginning to show your nervous system that the rules have changed. That the people around you now are not the people you came from. That the small experiment of asking for something, anything, even once, even imperfectly, is not a betrayal of your strength. It is an extension of it. And if you love someone like this, someone who never asks, understand that the absence of requests is not the absence of need. The person in your life who always says they are fine is often the one carrying the most. They do not need you to force the conversation. They need you to stay near long enough that one day, when the nervous system loosens just slightly, the request can emerge on its own, without pressure, without expectation. Just the quiet opening of a door that was closed for a very long time. If this put words to something you have been carrying silently, you are not alone in it. This channel is a space for the patterns of the mind that shape us deeply, but rarely get named. If this meant something to you, consider subscribing so these conversations keep finding you. And if you want, leave something in the comments. Even a single sentence, even just a word, because sometimes the first step toward asking is being witnessed in the fact that you never have. Thank you for watching.